Football star Brian Banks dominated the field as a high school linebacker and had accepted verbally a full scholarship to USC. But then the unthinkable happened when he was accused and convicted of raping a classmate.
I was a 16-year-old boy taken away from my mom, my freedom, my football team, my family. July 25th was the first day that I stepped foot in Chino State Prison. That's how I spent my 18th birthday.
Although Brian always maintained his innocence, he says his lawyer advised him to take a plea deal. Brian spent 5 years in prison and another 5 years as a registered sex offender. When his accuser tried to reconnect on Facebook nearly a decade later, she confessed to Brian and his legal team that she had lied.
Did he rape you?
No, he did not.
Did he kidnap you?
No.
My only dream in the world was to just be free and to have the same opportunity as everybody here.
That was my guest, Brian Banks, at 27 years old, celebrating his freedom and his exoneration of rape charges that landed him in prison for over 5 years. When he was just 16, Brian was wrongfully accused of raping a classmate in the stairwell of their high school, a crime he did not commit. He spent 5 years in prison, 5 years on parole as a registered sex offender, and he is back with us now. He's joined by Justin Brooks, the director of the California Innocence Project, who helped to exonerate Brian. Thank you both so much. The critical moment was her contacting you, coming to see you at work to talk about the fact that she had lied. You actually weren't at work. You were at an office you set up with cameras because you were getting smart about what was going to be needed to clear your name. And how did you get her to say on camera that it wasn't true?
I knew that it was imperative that she came forward. The only way that the California Innocence Project was able to help me in my case was if the witness in my case came forward and recanted. The only witness was her.
Because there was no DNA, there was never anything to really support this charge.
There was no
other than her words.
There had been no DNA to start with, so it's very hard to unring the bell when there's been a criminal conviction. In Brian's case, there was no evidence except for her word.
Which was conflicting even back then. There were conflicting stories.
There should have been DNA. It wasn't a late report case. It wasn't like someone coming to the police a week later and saying they were raped. It was the same day. So a rape kit was done and there was no DNA.
So she agrees to speak to a man you identified as a private investigator and just comes right out with it. Did your jaw hit the floor?
My jaw hit the floor the moment she made contact on Facebook. She was very adamant about wanting to hang out as if nothing had ever happened. And so I said, well, if you want to hang out, how about you come meet me at my job during my lunch break and we can talk, which really was a private investigation firm. I had contacted a PI and told him, you know, I need this girl to come forward and admit what she lied about. And this could risk me going back to prison by coming in contact with her. So at least let me have everything recorded so that if something goes wrong on my end, I can protect myself that way.
In Brian's case, there was no evidence except for her word.
Which was conflicting even back then. There were conflicting stories.
There should have been DNA. It wasn't a late report case. It wasn't like someone coming to the police a week later and saying they were raped. It was the same day. So a rape kit was done and there was no DNA.